right, welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the EFFL official podcast. This is number 29. Yeah, there we go. All right. And that is Pablo Bailey, my producer.
What's
up, Pablo?
Oh, not much. Just another day.
Awesome. And my name is Todd Bailey. I am your host, and we are looking forward to having another week of the EFFL and breaking down week 5. We're already 5 weeks into the football season. So
I know.
That's pretty cool. We want to thank our sponsors, as always, on tabbyentertainment.com and 123go.io. And with today's show, we're going to talk about the EFFL leaders, some EFFL notes and comments we want to address. Also, how is AI doing? They're kicking my butt still, just so you know. Some Week 5 NFL thoughts and observations, and then we'll have our Week 5 picks. What do you say, Paul? All sound good?
Oh, yeah. Let's get to it.
All right, we'll be back in a quick second. Hang on. And we are back again. Paul, this is going fast, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. I can't believe that we're already almost done is what it feels like with the first half, and it's at that point now where my picks are running slim in Extreme FFL.
It is funny. We get to this point of the season, and we're only through week 5. But as we hopefully everybody knows out there that we do run into 2 halves, 2 9-week halves, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. But this first half is more than halfway done.
Man, yeah.
So all this buildup for all of these months, getting into football and the preseason and the draft and all of that kind of stuff, I get all excited about it. And just like that, we're already 5 weeks into it. So pretty amazing, isn't it?
It is. And at least for me, this has gone a very unexpected route with the season. So I'm happily along for the ride, and I'm glad that I've been paying attention the whole time, because I think that if I were to just have checked out and been like, this is what I think is going to happen week 1, and then kind of been like, I'm going to coast and check back in now at week 5. Oh my God. I'd be like, wait, all right, wait. Okay. What's going on? What team is, they haven't scored. Okay. What?
Yeah. And, I got to give you props, Paul, because like I said, a few times in the past, you haven't been very active in football, as far as playing it you were, but not as far as fantasy world. And
right.
You're coming around pretty well, and your knowledge is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to hearing about your pick of the week later on in the show. So
yeah, well, I'm excited that
your breakdown of that.
I'm finally in the upper half of the Extreme Exchange now, so I'm officially at rank 8 out of 20, and we're moving our way on through.
Well, that's pretty awesome. We won't cover a whole lot of the exchange this week because we have only an hour. We got to fit a lot of information into it, but we will get on that a little more going into next week. But let's get into the top players, the tops of the week, and the top standings for the 3 public leagues that we have: our Platinum League and then our 2 sponsored leagues. So.
Oh yeah, I think we got some good stuff. I can't believe I did not pick the picks that these winners did pick today. But who's done it? Who took the cake?
All right. So in the Platinum League, our $100 league, that is being led by Rock Range Rolls. Rock Range Rolls has been around for a long time. They're one of our executives, and he was tops for the week with 287.5 points.
Wow.
And I'm seeing a little theme here. Anybody who played in the Baltimore Ravens Cincinnati Bengals game probably got a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
He did pick Jamar Chase and got 76.3 points. So that Bengals Ravens game was I think 41-38, high scoring affair.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Rock Range Rolls was number 1 for the week, and for the year to date standings, currently it's 1,004 and counting with 40 wins. Michigan Ringer at 34, DJ Dubs have 31, and the aforementioned Rock Range Rolls at 29.
Man, and so that is just 4 weeks left on these current standings before they reset for the second half. So
5 weeks left. Oh no, 4. You're right.
Yep.
4 weeks left. Yep.
Yeah,
we
are coming along over to it now.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yep. So if
And
you
like I said,
aren't in first place or anything, if
we'll
you're
get
like me and you're kind of a little trickling down then your ladder, just remember that in a couple weeks you'll
I'm
be able to be even level again with everyone else.
back to zero, back to zero. Push reset. Yeah, and I'm definitely needed. I'm not anywhere close. I think I'm winning a few private leagues, but I'm not in any of the bigger money leagues. So,
Yep.
oh well,
Same
which
here.
is fine. Which is fine. Going over to our 123go.io league, our sponsor here, Florida Wahoo, down there in Florida. Good luck, Dave, with the hurricanes out there.
Oh
But
yeah.
Florida Wahoo is 323 points, led the league in points this week,
320,
and
man.
he
That's a lot. That's a
323.
lot.
He also had Jamar Chase for 76.3. So Florida Wahoo was tops. And year-to-date standings is 1,004 and counting with 51. Florida Wahoo is right there at 50. Zelma Zigzags at 46. And, and, Asinine Idiots, the AI,
Wow.
is at 44 wins. So those asinine idiots are kicking my butt. So I wonder who the asinine idiot really is, right? So, anyways, that's the 123go league.
Nice. All right. Well, that's not bad. I'm surprised AI is doing so good. But hey, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. So if AI wins any money, who gets the money?
I mean, it was your team, so I guess it would go to you. But you know
Yeah,
what?
put
If
back
you
into the
want,
league.
I was about to
Just
say, yeah,
put
you can
back into
donate
it.
it. I can use some extra AI cash.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, yeah. So I'll give it to my producer
Right.
because he's
Exactly.
one in charge, anyways. So, and then another executive of the Extreme FFL, Mud Falcons, were the tops for the week in the Tabby Entertainment League, and he had 287 points, and he was led by Baltimore's offense, which was
Yeah.
63 points strong there. So
Man, I wish I would
uh,
have played Baltimore's offense, and instead I went with the
anybody on
defense.
that, just don't pick
I
defenses for
know.
that game. Other than that, you are good to go. And over the year, all the year to date, but that came out wrong. Year to date for the Tabby Entertainment standings is 1,004 and counting. You notice I said his name 3 times.
Yeah.
He is still leading all 3 leagues. He has 79 wins. K Box Crushers at 76. System of a Down has 72. And G Men 824 is at
So
60.
is he doing the same lineups every week? This 1,004 and counting. I haven't checked, so I haven't
He
wondered.
does.
But
He does.
all right,
Yep.
so all the teams are the same for the
He
lineups.
does, and so do I.
Yeah. Well, I
But
think that's a
one of us does things well, one of us doesn't.
just goes to show the picks count.
Yeah, sometimes I just probably should just throw a dart, flip a coin, maybe whatever. That's no, but he's actually been around for a long time. We've been friends since 1979, so we go way, way back. And the guy is legit, knows his football stuff. So he's by no means is a luck. He's actually a skilled player. But like you said, Paul, after 4 more weeks, we're all back to even.
Oh yeah. Yep. Off to the
Yeah.
races again then.
So I want to get into some of the topics that have been coming up recently, and part of them we'll talk about
Hmm.
the two halves. But so we have some growing pains, and we will admit that. We are a relatively new company or the new league with this format and having it all electronic, and as wonderful as it's been, it definitely is leaps and bounds better than what it was for the first 4 years.
Hmm.
We still have growing pains and we still have challenges and concerns. So
Right.
if anybody out there has concerns, we want to know about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this is also one of the things like we want to be fully transparent about like what we are working on to try to improve our product for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, very important. So let's get into a couple things here. Somebody came up to me on recently, and they had their running backs, both running backs, RB1, RB2, on their two teams switched. And whether they did on purpose or not, they didn't they didn't have them. So he actually asked me, why are the scoring different between his running backs and all that? So
Mm-hmm.
he didn't know that RB1 and also WR1 has a 15% bonus versus
Right.
what that player would have received if they were RB2 or WR2.
Yeah, so it is very important who is being placed in the RB1 slot, and then who is going to be, respectively placed in the RB2 slot as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's, I mean, 15%, is not a lot, but then I guess it is. It does kind of play into it because we get some pretty tight scores here. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure that you want to put your whoever you feel is going to be your top scoring running back and your top scoring wide receiver in the appropriate RB1 or WR1 spots,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yep.
you want to do that. So I want to make sure people understood that is a thing that we added. That's brand new for this year. We did not have that in the past. So anybody who's played in the past who's not used to having that distinction and that difference, then now we have it this year. So we want to make sure that we covered it well. We probably covered it, a little bit preseason, but things may not have gotten conveyed properly. So now we're telling it to you now. So
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah. So another thing we also have is the visual of the lineups who you're playing against. This is a critical thing that we've had for complaining about for about 3 years. And last year and this year we have a way to fix it. But somebody years and years ago made a comment that their lineup was being displayed online before the 1 o'clock Eastern games were shown. And what that allowed somebody to do was to copy. Now, I don't know if anybody physically copied someone's else's lineups, but if I'm playing against you, Paul,
Mm-hmm.
and we're neck and neck, and maybe I'm beating you by a little bit, and if you have your lineup posted online, if I can play those same players or teams, I might do it so I don't lose any ground to you, right?
Right, yeah, especially if you aren't paying attention that week to the games, you didn't do any research, you never looked into anything, it'd be easy for you to instead just be like, oh, I'm going to phone it in and just get the same points as the person who I'm competing with, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it came up that is there a way for us to hide the lineups? And to be honest, in full transparency, as Paul said a minute ago, when it was just me doing it on my own, I didn't know how to do that without making it even more tedious and more of a pain on my end to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to address this because it did come up a couple times recently. Before 1 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday, if you go to the current week standings and you look and you want to see how you're doing on there, you will see the scoring of the previous week.
Mm-hmm.
You won't see this week's scoring, even if there was a game. Well, there always is a game on Thursday, but even the game on Thursday night and the next 3 weeks, we have games in Europe. So Sunday morning, there's a game. So even at almost 1 o'clock, you would have two games already done. Well, if you hit any players on those teams, they will not be shown on the current week standings. The only place you can see your players' points that they've earned in the games are at your locker room. And the locker room is the same screen you go to when you select your lineup.
Right. Well, at least just to clarify, essentially the lineups get set on Sundays at 1 o'clock, and so if you're looking before that point in time, you're going to be looking at your previous week's lineups and then the previous week's standings for your whole teams, right? And then only at that 1 o'clock is when those things are going to get updated for your lineups, and you'll be able to see who you've actually played. And then what he's mentioning here is that if you want to look in the meantime, right, at your teams, and maybe your team plays on Thursday and they play the night game, you can see how they've done as soon as their game finishes on Thursday. But you have to look in your locker room to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Again, the locker room is the same area you go when you set your lineup with the offense, defense, and the position players.
Mm-hmm.
So right above that, I probably should show it on the screen, but right above the position totals are spots or the total.
Mhm.
So that's where you'll see your players before 1 o'clock. You will not be able to see anybody else's lineups until 1 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yep. Yep.
So Paul, tell us about these 9 week halves and how that's going to work out.
Yeah. So
'Cause
one
we're
of
going to
the
get to week 10 pretty soon.
Yeah, one of the things we want to remind everyone is that we do split our seasons into two halves, and so when you join, you only pay for it once, but you're in it for both halves. And at the end of 9 weeks, we split it up into the playoffs, right? Where whoever wins, is it the top two performers, Dad, or is it the top
Top two.
four?
Top two.
So the
Yeah.
top two players,
On any league that has more than 4 people in it. So some of the private leagues have only 2 or 3 or 4 people in it.
right?
So that's a little different. But if you have more than 4 people in a league, then the top two go to the playoffs in weeks 19 and 20 automatically.
Gotcha. Yeah. So then when that happens, at the beginning or at the end of that week 9, those two top performing teams are going to be essentially their spot is now saved for them in playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yep.
for the next 9 weeks, those other players, those other teams are then competing for those other remaining two spots in the playoffs. So then once everything resets, everyone goes back through. You have all of your players again. So if you played Jared Goff in week 1, you could play Jared Goff again in week 9, and or sorry, week 10. And when that happens, you get all of everything essentially level ground for everybody to get a good game again. So if you're demoralized, and you're looking at me like I am on the Tabby League and I'm at the very very bottom of at least this last week, it's not the end of the world. There's always going to be another chance to come back and do it for the second half of the season.
Right, and that was very well said, Paul. Because that is what happens. And in the past years, if we're playing a full 18-week season, if I'm into like weeks 11 or 12 and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not anywhere close, I might lose interest and maybe stop playing.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want
Yeah,
at
we
all.
want everyone to be excited about this too. We want everyone to be
Yeah.
looking. And one of the cool things is like we offer playoffs as a way to play the game. Like most games can't go alongside of the playoffs and the Super Bowl and stuff, but we can.
Right.
And because of that, we want people to be excited about it. We want people to be fighting for their chance to be a part of that. It's a
Yeah.
very exciting thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's all very important to us. So I'm like you, Paul. I'm not doing very well in many of my leagues, and we're 5 weeks into it. But you know what? Like you said, only 4 weeks left, and then we can go ahead and get totally reset. I can get my players again, and I have some stats that we will not going to mention here, but I will put them on the website. So we will have some of the averages of players on the EFFL, some of the uh, other most used players, those kind of things. So all of that will be available on the website before this week's games begin. So you can kind of get an idea of who's been played the most throughout the league
Mm-hmm.
and the average points that they've earned so far. So all of that is coming. It's just too much to convey. And we don't want to get into a lot of math and numbers here on a podcast, but it will be on the website on the front page
Yeah.
pretty soon. I guarantee you that. So
Absolutely. We are definitely working on the program. We are actively all the time having meetings with our developer and trying to make this the most smooth product for all the things that everybody wants to be having for this game. So
yeah,
we
yeah.
just want to say thanks for sticking around and hang in there for a little bit more on some of these technical things, and we'll get everything fleshed out nicely.
Well, let's get to the exchange quickly before actually, hang on one more second. So there is a lady who I go to for Coney Island for breakfast regularly, and she's
Mm-hmm.
in the standard league. And she has commented many times this week, as many of us who are playing in a standard league, that her guys always get hurt. Her guys are hurt every week, and she's constantly on the waiver wire
Mm-hmm.
asking my advice, and I give her my advice, whether it's good or bad. I give her my advice because it's free. And so then luckily this week she did well because she asked a question about Kareem Hunt. Anyway,
Oh,
so
yep. Okay.
yeah, so that worked out well for me. But I told her, well, you can still join our league, which is something I want to understand or to make sure I convey properly to you too. if you have not joined our league, and if you want to join any of our leagues, you can do that. You
Mm-hmm.
can join the private leagues if you want. You get a hold of me. I'll let you join my private league.
Yep. There's a
And
Tabby
even
Entertainment League. You can join the sponsored leagues. Yep.
you can do anything you want. Yep. And even though you haven't played in weeks 1 through 5, or even weeks 1 through 9, if you wanted to jump on in week 10, you could do that, and you can still win the entire league.
Mm-hmm.
Like Paul said before, if you win the last 9 weeks of the season, second half, you get an entry into the playoffs. So if you still want to get in, do not feel discouraged. We can go ahead and do that. We also, I'm thinking, if you have enough interest, we actually are going to create or may create a couple of 9-week seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just jump in, and everybody's brand new. Just jump on in for 9 weeks, and have fun that way. So if anybody wants to join either an existing league, be it public or private, and you don't know how, let me know. If you want to create your own league and just play the last 9 weeks with another person or people, feel free. Let us know. Just feel free. And
Yeah.
like Paul's going to say later on, all those subscribing, this, that, all those
Like,
kind of
comment, and subscribe.
social media.
We want
Yeah,
those comments. Make sure, yeah. If you're watching this
yeah,
on YouTube, leave a comment. If you're watching it on Podbean, if you're watching it on Apple Music, whatever it is, make sure you leave a comment or find us. Leave a message on the profile. Shoot things out to us. We're so happy to receive any sort of comments or questions, and bring you on to this at whatever capacity that we can.
right, right. So again, if you want to join, you can still join. That's awesome. Quickly, let's get to the exchange. Some of the things going on there, Paul, with the trend and the portfolio graphs and whatnot.
Yep.
So we understand that when you look at your portfolio on the exchange, you have
The week
well
to week.
18 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
18 weeks of spots, and we don't have the lines going up and down yet. We have where you started and what you're currently at, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we apologize for that, but that's in the works to get finished. Hopefully, be done this week, so you can go back and you can see the trend of your total portfolio and what happened there in those individual weeks. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, because for me, what it would show is that it would show that I was bouncing back and forth around that $1,000 area, and now I've suddenly started to have a little bit of a trend, which for me lets me know that at least what I've been doing recently has been successful.
There you go. Now, unlike the EFFL, we do not have the exchange broken down into 2 9-week halves. So it is a complete 18 weeks season there. So,
Hmm.
so if you're having a bad start, sell somebody, buy somebody else, get reinvested, and have a little fun with that. So that's all. It's all pretty cool. Because this year, every transaction is free.
Oh yeah.
Next year, it's probably going to cost you $2 of something in that range, $2 of portfolio cash to make a
To
transaction.
make a
So
trade.
yeah, make a
Granted,
trade.
we're thinking that we're gonna have like a certain amount of them for free within a week, but then after you pass a certain amount, like if I'm making, like you get 3 free trades, we'll just say for example, and then if I'm trying to make like 10 trades in a week, if I'm trying to make 11, 12 trades, then you're gonna be
There you go.
paying for
Yeah,
those.
yeah, that kind of thing work. We also are when you go in to buy a player, you may have seen the little button there for view trend. The view trend button, similar to the portfolio trend, will be the trend of that particular player or team.
Hmm.
So that is currently what you would see on the buy assets button. We decided today, you also will see the view trend button on your own portfolio players and teams you have. So again, we're trying to make this, bigger and better. It is a growing, very fluid uh, enterprise we have. So we have some things good and bad, and we appreciate all of the comments. And we've got some really important, some good, some bad
Hmm.
comments, and we appreciate all of those because everything is going to make this better. So
Exactly.
you'll see some view trends available pretty soon on the exchange. You also will be able to click on the ranking, as Paul says, in the above top 10 now, which is great. You'll be
Yeah.
also able to see
Here, 1 minute. I
all of the.
gotta applause myself and give myself a little pat on the back here. All right.
There you go. There you go. Um, you also will. Well, Paul, I won't tell you where I'm at.
Oh, okay.
I won't tell you where I'm at, but um, you also will be able to click on that ranking, and you won't see anybody's portfolio, but you'll see the portfolio value of what the people
Gotcha.
have. So you can kind of get an idea. That's all coming real soon. So bear with us as we get this project going more full speed.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's enough of that. Let's be getting into here. What do you want to do first? You want to talk about NFL, or you want to talk about how
Let's,
your games went here?
let's talk about AI first.
All right, here. Then let me drop a little bit of a back to EFFL here because we're getting back to it.
All right. So we've had this AI thing going around for 5 weeks now, right? So just quickly, again, they're kicking my ass, but we actually have tried some money lines and against the spread bets too. And just so you know, this past week, AI money lines were 10 out of 14, and against the
Wow.
spread, 7 out of 14. So,
Okay.
so AI is 10 out of 14 this week. For the season, they're at 59%.
Okay.
Now, our guest last week was Joe Bliss, and Joe said between 60 and 70% is where you want to be. So
Mhm.
AI is right there. They're at 59% of the money line bets. A
Interesting.
coin flip, a coin flip is 50%, right?
Yeah.
You're picking the winners without any knowledge of what at all. You could pick a winner by flipping a coin and be right half the time, theoretically,
Mhm.
right? But AI is at 59. So not so bad there. Probably better than I would do.
Yeah, yeah, that is very interesting. I think that um, essentially AI is being fed information to make it like a pseudo expert, and it's kind of impressive that it's actually performing above the standard. And this could be temporary, right? Like we don't necessarily know if when the whole stretch of 18 weeks is gone, if this is still going to show as 59%. But I think that at least the trend this week is more so than the trend last week, so it looks better than it did last week for AI. But if it
Yeah.
continues to trend that way, then that's actually a pretty formidable opponent and a very unhappy way to say so. Like formidable opponent in AI, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I do suspect that the bouncing around is going to be happening. Like I think last week he was under half right for his predictions.
Yeah, they weren't very good last week. Let me if I could pull it up here quickly.
Okay.
Get to it. But yeah, they weren't very strong last week.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of bouncing around that we can expect here.
Yeah, they this last week they were 9 money wins out of 16. I guess not so bad. 9 out of 16 last week, and I guess the
Okay.
spread was 7 out of 16 last week.
Okay.
They did
Yeah.
have a pretty bad against the spread in week 2. They only won 3 times. But I gotta say, we went through these last week. Went through the picks that they had, and AI picked 4 blowouts. They had 4 games
Oh yeah, yeah.
where it was a 10-point spread. Minnesota was playing the New York Jets in London
Mhm.
and had a 10-point lead
They looked
getting
so
pretty,
good. They looked
pretty
so
late
good. Yeah.
pretty late in the game, but the Jets did get some points. So
Mhm.
that 10 points, they were correct on the money line. They chose Minnesota, but they weren't right on the point spread. The 49ers were ahead, and this is how important a kicker is. I don't even know I saw this, Paul, but the kicker for the 49ers
Mhm.
hurt his ankle, and
Oh,
they were limited. And they hurt his ankle pretty bad. They had to bring in the punter for
is
one
that
of the
is that Moody? Jake Moody? That
yeah Jake Moody from
Jake
U of
Moody
M.
got hurt last week. I played him.
His
No
ankle,
wonder. No.
yeah, his ankle got hurt, so he didn't get a lot of points. But
Yeah,
they brought
yeah.
in the punter for one of the extra points, and he got it. But they also they were really concerned about getting extra field goals later on, so they went for it more often, and that kind of made the game ultimately a loss for the 49ers because Arizona came back.
Right.
But for a while there, the 49ers were actually ahead by 10 also. And then AI, as well as me, picked Seattle to beat New York Giants. I don't understand. Well, I do understand. I'll mention that a little bit later on. But the Seattle, I don't know, their offense was on fire against Detroit, but they couldn't do anything at home against the Giants. So that was
Yeah.
wrong also. But AI was correct on one of the 10-point spreads. They're correct last night where the Chiefs
Yeah,
beat New Orleans 26-13.
that's yeah. That's a good
So,
one to go for, and I think that a lot of people expected that.
yeah.
Granted, I don't think people
Anyways,
expected it to happen quite the way it did, though. But yeah,
yeah. That was just, kind of strange, but it is what it is. So I guess AI is, and they're fourth currently in the 1, 2, 3 goal league with 44 wins.
yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like predicting a blowout is just so hard. I don't see a lot of blowouts happening in this entire out of
And
all the games at all. Like
they're
most
not
teams,
common. Yeah.
yeah, most teams are going to be able to at least put 14 on the board. Most teams are going to be able to keep it within a 14-point spread for the most part. Like it's not too
There was
common
some
to see
stat
that.
is like 78%, and I'm probably off that number now, but a couple years ago I saw that where 78% of the games were decided by one possession.
Yeah. Wow.
So 7 or less points, 8 or less points.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So everything's pretty close, pretty good parity here. So that's kind of nice.
Hmm.
Um,
Actually, here, wait. This brings me to a question.
yeah.
What do you do about defense? Because defense it's been my bane in fantasy for this whole season. I can't bet on a good defensive team once for the life of me. And what do you do? What are you thinking?
Well, one of the things I kind of take into account is rookie quarterbacks on the road. One of my very first look ats is a rookie QB going on the road somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't care if you're Jaden Daniels or not. It's just sometimes it's the game itself is quick. It's faster than college. And when you have the hostile crowd yelling or cheering in your ear, trying to make you distracted and whatnot, I just feel like, okay, so I'm going to fall back with that. That's probably a little bit harder. I'm
Hmm.
not so, I'm also concerned about rookies at home, but not nearly as much. Then I look at what kind of a run offense does the team have?
Right.
Can a team control the ball? If the team can control the ball, then there's going to be less possessions because the clock will run more,
Hmm.
and therefore less possessions usually equals less points.
Right. Smaller scores. Yeah.
So now I do have this stat for you, Paul. The average EFFL defense so far through week 5 averages only 7.2 points.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, the average offense is 4.3.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, the average defense averages 7 points and change versus four
Hmm.
points and change for the offense. But those are how I look at first is just rookie quarterbacks on the road, and then can the team run well? If the team runs well, their defense is going to get better, get more rest, and therefore I think stronger.
Right.
But I tell you that, and I'm not in the top 4 of any of the public or sponsored leagues. So take what I gave you and throw it away.
Yeah.
But anyways, I guess if anybody else has any input out there in the world, um, let us know. Some people have taken the account of the Vegas money lines and look at what the over under total points scored are.
Hmm.
And again, 21 points is the average threshold that we need for our points here. So if a game has under 42 or 42 or less, then it's going to be a lower scoring game. And then maybe just your sense of what you know about the game, who they have on the teams might be able to tell you who is favored to win, but it's probably
Right.
going to be a lesser, lower scoring game. And also, of course, weather. We had weather involved in the Jets and Broncos game in Week 4,
Sure. Yeah.
and with the snow coming up later on, that also plays into it too.
Oh, that's a good point for once it gets a little chilly out there. I'll
Yeah.
definitely be looking this week into ESPN.com to see like projected defensive scores. I haven't done that for defense before. I don't know why that never considered or I never crossed my mind, but because I've done that naturally when I'm like looking at my lineups for the ESPN league for a standard league, right? Um,
Right.
but but yeah, I've never done it for defense. I think they said something about Eagles this week was going to be a strong one on their projected, so we'll see how that goes. And I don't think I've played the Eagles defense yet. So, well, yeah, we'll see.
There you go. Opportunity there. All right, let's get into some Week 5 observations in the NFL and see a couple things here, and then we'll get moving on. So, question I have for you, Paul. Oh wait, forgot you got a cool soundbite.
Oh yeah. All right. What is it?
So, Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've documented him for a long, long time in this last year and all his problems with his Achilles and taking a whole year off and coming back and what's supposed to have been an awesome year. I'm thinking he's washed up. I haven't seen anything impressive with his all. Now I do know the O line is ridiculous. He got hit I think 26 times in the past 2 weeks for I think a total of 8 sacks.
Wow.
So that's not going to help anybody. And he's over 40 years old, so I know stuff happens. And I know for a fact that when you go over 40 years old, you don't heal quite as quickly as you do when you're 28. But my concern is, my thought is Aaron Rodgers washed up? I mean, is this time as a quality QB1 gone?
So I have always kind of leaned on the side of he's washed up. He's getting a little too old for the game at this point. Like he's more of a flight risk than he is, a boom chance. So I think like for me, I have been very tentatively playing Aaron Rodgers, especially on Extreme Exchange. I haven't been playing him on anything else. Granted, I actually do have him on the ESPN League. I picked him up accidentally in the auto draft when I wasn't there for the draft, but I got him in there, and I haven't played him a single week yet. I really considered it a couple of times, but he just hasn't made the cut. And at this point now, I don't see it happening. Now that he's already gotten another questionable position now, I don't think that I would want to take the chance on it. I was already not 100% comfortable taking a chance on him, even at a $20. And every single part of us, we talked about it many times before the season started. At a $20 value, you want to start in quarterback because all it takes is one good week before you get, $20-$30, right? And that's exactly what happened. He got up to $80, and if I would have sold him there, then he would have been a great, $60 gain for the weeks that I had him. But I ended up, he had that 1 week, I think last week that I played him, or not the previous one. No, it might have been last week. Either way, he had 1 week where his numbers dropped, and after that it was like, all right, you know what? I took my chance on you. I got good gains. I'm gonna drop out before things start looking bad.
Yep.
So that's the mindset I'm in right now.
Well, if I was to ask you, Paul, we have a total of so far 24 quarterbacks who have been used in the first 5 weeks in the EFFL. What number would you estimate Aaron Rodgers is? I know we're not on the notes here, so as you're going putting on the spot, but 24 quarterbacks have been chosen. Where do you think Aaron Rodgers falls? What number?
Man, I would for Extreme Exchange or for EFFL?
No, the EFFL.
Okay, I was about to say because I put him very high for the difference. For EFFL, I would put him probably at somebody who's been played in the bottom 5. I would go specifically number 3, bottom third, least played quarterback.
Well, he's actually and as far as his point score, he puts him at 16. He's the 16th highest scoring quarterback out of 24.
Okay. So that's better than I thought. I was expecting him to be at the 21 range.
So if you playing 9-week halves, you're nowhere near using Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So that's a little bit of a thing there. So anyways, he's 27.4 points, and the average quarterback is 28.9.
Okay.
It's not even an average.
Yeah, so I thought what you were asking had to do with like how many times he'd been played, and I was like, man, I can't imagine anyone have been playing him consistently on a week-to-week basis. Like maybe a couple people have tried to pull that card, but I definitely haven't.
He's only been played for 2 weeks. In weeks 2 and week 4 has he been used, and only 16 teams have used him so far.
Okay.
So but again, he's not performing at a very good level, and definitely not QB1. There's a whole lot of other quarterbacks ahead of him
Mm-hmm.
that you want to use. So coming into the second half of the season, keep that in mind. It's just an idea you have. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, that's Aaron Rodgers is my thought. My next thought is there anybody, and this was the shocker, if you would have told me this September 1st, is there anybody on Miami worth playing? And that means Tyreek Hill, Devon Achan,
Yeah.
Tua Tagovailoa, Raheem Mostert, Jaden Waddle,
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Wright, the new rookie running back. There isn't anything going on in Miami. I don't understand. You can throw, I can throw. Just stand back 7 yards, toss a ball in the air, and let the guy named Tyreek go catch it. I mean, this seems. I know it's not quite that simple.
Sure.
I
Right.
know, but still, somebody who's an NFL quarterback should be able to throw the ball downfield with some kind of consistency to Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill. And I
Yeah.
know Devon Chan got hurt in this last game, but Raheem Mostert, something got to do something here.
So,
Um,
I know that they is this their bye week? I think this is their bye week, right?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, and I think Achan was just a concussion reported for his injury. So I think people are expecting him to be back by week by the time that they're out of bye week. And I think that that's going to be good for him. But honestly, I think he got 3 points in the last week, and I think the week before that was sitting around like the 5 point spread on like a normal like standard league, and on our league, I couldn't see him putting up any more than like 20 points. Like I don't, he just wasn't performing at the level that we wanted him to be. Tyreek Hill and ultimately Jalen Waddle. These are weapons, like legitimate weapons that a team should be able to utilize. Like
Right.
there's no reason that they're just not working other than the fact that they just can't pilot the team. And I mean, I want to say there's no reason. I'm sure the offensive line might not be giving him the most space and most time for those sorts of things. I'm sure maybe they can't like break through the defense, and can't pull them apart the same way that they might have been able to do it before when Tua was on it. But it is still a situation where you know, if you played like me, I played Tyler Huntley last week, bought him at 42.28, and then he lost $9 and played at a $33 value, and and it was just. And it was atrocious. I mean, it looked so bad for him in the start. Thank God they started to come
Yeah.
back a little bit, because
Yeah.
otherwise it would have been even worse. But at this point, it just puts such a bad taste for me in my mouth about the Dolphins, and the team that they have, because they just can't utilize what they do have, right? So it doesn't matter if you're looking at talent when the talent can't be talented.
Right. Well, just quickly, give me some lineups from some offensive players for Miami. Tua Tagovailoa, I know he's hurt. He had 18.3 is his average so far. Devon Chan has been on 3 different weeks been chosen to be the RB1 at
Mm-hmm.
26.2 points. Devon Chan as RB2 is at 11.6 points.
Man.
So Raheem Mostert has been used one time. He did get 32.7 this past week. So I guess there's a kind of bright spot. Going over to the receivers. Um, of the receivers, Tyreek Hill is at 28.3 points and the average of 28.8. So, and that's after he had a strong week one. His week
Yeah.
one was 56 points. He's got 13, 16, and 26 points the past 3 weeks. So
Man.
nothing there. Jalen Waddle is nowhere to be seen. So
Mm-hmm.
he's nothing. And Miami's offense has been used one time and it's got 9 points.
Yeah. I mean, we got if you
It's
have
just ridiculous. So
if one of the best players on the team are not performing well, you can suspect that the team isn't going to do well in general. Like if Tyreek Hill is going to be performing well, how the hell is Jalen Waddle going to be performing well?
sure.
And the same goes for like Achan too. Like if Achan's not going to be performing well, I guess Achan is such a speed back that you have the difference in like the positions of a running back even. But even still, it's just such a hard spot. You could consider. Oh man, I'm trying to think of like other teams that have like famously injured wide receivers and stuff. But But it goes to show where if you have players that you expect to be at the top level and they're just not performing at that level, that at some point you have to be like, all right, this isn't working, and I got to put my
Right.
eggs in another basket. Yeah, you know.
Yep. Yep. I totally agree. So again, is anybody on Miami worth playing right now? No. There's
No.
a lot of other players who are playing much better than they are.
Hmm.
Speaking of not playing well, the Bengals are 1-4.
Yeah.
Now, they offensively and stat wise, their players do well. We mentioned Jamar Chase a couple times. Joe Burrow is still one of the tops in the quarterback out there. Just everybody know Joe Burrow averaging 42.1 points for a quarterback.
Hmm.
Jamar Chase as an RB as a WR1 is at 52.5. So he's well over average. So there's points to be used or won by using the Bengals players, but from an NFL perspective, they are 1-4. So my question to you, Paul, is are they out of the playoffs? I think I saw 3.9% this morning is the percentage of teams going 1-4 to getting into the playoffs. Do you think the Bengals are going to do that?
Yeah, yeah, and I kind of was leaning this way last week already, where I don't see them being able to come back from this, especially
Yeah,
if they weren't able to get a win this last week. I think that it was so important for them to kind of be able to come out on top in a tough battle against like a similarly skilled opponent like the Ravens, you know. And they
yeah.
unfortunately they got high scoring. Everyone loves watching a game like that for the record, but just not not playoff material when you're considering that record. Like ultimately with the 1-4.
If you saw that game, we'll get to the overtime. So it goes to overtime, boom, right?
Hmm.
And in the NFL overtime, if you get a touchdown, you win the game. So the Ravens got the ball first, went down the field, got to like the 40-yard line of the Bengals. Um, third down, whatever it was, bad snap. It gets kicked by the lineman trying to cover the ball. It goes back towards the Bengals side of the field, and around the 40-yard line of the Bengals, it's recovered. Now,
Hmm.
today, in this day and age, a 55, 57 yard field goal is kind of pretty, not standard, but it's not rare to miss. It's rare to miss.
Right.
So the Bengals just need to get a few more yards, kick a field goal, because since the Ravens had the ball first, now it's the next score wins the game.
Yeah.
So the
Right.
Bengals had the ball on their own 40, first and 10, and they didn't do a thing. They go to a 55-yard field goal, and I feel sorry for the holder, but it was a good snap. The holder bobbled the ball a little bit, and Evan
Oh.
McPherson, the kicker, went to kick it, and the ball
Mm,
just got upright when he kicked it, but it was angled wrong and then went wide, 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 wide left. So then the Ravens get the
damn.
ball, get a few yards, kick a field goal, win the game.
Right.
Well, not all right. They got a few yards. They got a run by Derrick Henry, and then they got a field goal. But the Bengals had the win. They had the lead in the game. They I guess Baltimore on the road. They had to win that game. They just needed a first down and on overtime they didn't
Right. And
get
then they
it. They
could
had
have
a
fixed.
bad hold, didn't get it. Then they gave
Oh.
up Derrick Henry like a 40-yard run, and then that point on chip shot win. So Bengals in my eyes are out of the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
So
go as far as saying the same thing. I mean, and you got other teams that are just looking so strong. You know, with the Commanders stepping up, the Chargers are doing pretty good this season. You know, on top of
yeah,
that, you have
yep,
Minnesota just destroying people. Like
I yeah, yeah.
it's very interesting. You know what? Here's a question for you. What do you think about the Bills? How serious is Josh Allen and his inconsistencies of recent?
I think he does not perform well on the road. I think he could, but his playmakers are gone.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a strong run game. He doesn't have an overly strong receiving core anymore. So you can't rely on Josh Allen running the ball. As good as he is, I just don't see that happening. So you get on the road, he plays a Baltimore, and he gets shellacked by Baltimore. This week, who did they play this week? I forgot who they played. Oh, he's
Texans.
Houston.
Yeah, yeah.
And Houston, I guess
They
They
it was a
put them back
blowout
in the
at
game.
first. It was a blowout at
Yeah,
first, and then yeah, came
yeah.
back.
Well, Nico Collins got hurt, so it kind of took away some of the weapons from of the Texans. But
Right.
Buffalo, I don't know. And Josh Allen's all the skills in the world, and he's still one of the top scoring quarterbacks in our league. But he's just, I don't know, as far as winning the games, probably not this year. I know we're getting close to our time. I want to move on over here, Paul, but
Yep.
I want to introduce you to a thing called the Detroit Lions hangover,
Oh, okay.
because this is a thing. And going forward, be aware of it. All four opponents that the Lions have played this year lost the week after they play the Lions.
Interesting.
Now, coincidence? Maybe. But the Rams, Buccaneers, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks all played the Lions.
Okay.
Buccaneers beat us, but the other three teams lost to us. But all four teams have lost.
The week after.
And again, I don't see a reason why the Seahawks should have lost that game. You got New York flying across country, playing in your hometown. They didn't have Malik Neighbors, their superstar receiver rookie.
Yeah.
They didn't have the running back. They had nobody on offense. They got Daniel Jones as quarterback. Seattle has all these playmakers: DK, Lockett, Smith and Jigba. They have Walker and Charbonnet on the offense, and they couldn't move the dang ball. If it wasn't for a 101-yard fumble return, they would have got less points than they did. So Seattle is bad. But anyways, the Lions hangover is a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of they just performed real bad last week. I mean, they're looking strong for Seattle, so I imagine if this is a hiccup, which I could still see it being a hiccup for this week, then it's not an issue. But if it's something that is a trend, then starts to become an issue. And at this point, keep your eye on it because it's teetering. Either way.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see. Lions play the Cowboys this week, so we'll see how the Cowboys do in the following week.
Well, hey, let's move on here to one of my favorite things to do here, just because we are kind of coming up on the time.
Yeah.
So let's get on over to Game of the Week. And normally I go with Game of the Week first. So what's your Game of the Week here today, Todd?
Well, I'm going to pick I was going to go Detroit, Dallas because of what happened last year and all that, but I'm not. I'm gonna put my eggs in the basket here. Talk about Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. Again, rookie quarterback going on the road. They're playing Baltimore. Baltimore is a really good team. This is what I consider Jaden Daniels' first real challenge on the road this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. So I'm picking Washington and Baltimore. I think Baltimore, because of that ball control, you just can't stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. I think it's going to limit the number of possessions that Jaden Daniels is going to have. Because of that, I think it's going to be a Baltimore win. But this is what I want to see, just how real Jaden Daniels is against Baltimore's defense.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think that Baltimore, they've been recently picking up a lot of steam, even though they had like a slow and awkward start to the season. So I think that they will definitely be bringing their A game here to try to stop the Commanders from building up more momentum also.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's questionable. It's a lot of pressure for Jaden Daniels to come through here, but I think he could. I absolutely think he could. And I'll bet against you just for that. Just for the drama here. Yeah, I'll go for the Commanders this week.
Okay. How about your game? Who do you pick?
My game of the week was the Browns versus the Eagles. All right. So this is the thing where previously I would have put my money on the Eagles and I would have been excited about it. And I think at this point I'm still going to be putting my money on the Eagles and I'm still going to be thinking strong. But I just had so many more expectations for the Browns this season. And I think a lot of people did. Not necessarily Deshaun Watson. He wasn't my favorite thing to look forward to. But I do think that the defense was looking real good. I know they've got threats. And I wanted to see something happen. I'm not seeing it, though, and I don't think anyone really is. So at this point, I'm watching this game. This is my game of the week because I want to know just how far Cleveland has fallen. And I think that if this is a week that I'm expecting, I would go as far as saying Philadelphia is going to blow out the Browns.
Well, the Browns have zero offense. Nick Chubb is not due back yet.
Right.
When he comes back, it's going to be different. But Jerome Ford is your running back. Okay. not an RB1 by any means like that. So I think the Eagles are going to do well. I think they're going to get Devontae Smith back this week, I believe.
Okay.
So we'll see. But I think that the Eagles are not like they were in the past. They're not that strong.
Right.
But
Jalen Hurts
is still a top-notch quarterback. So
exactly. Yeah, that was my point there. You can only take away so much. Is AJ Brown coming back this week too? No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think he is, but I haven't heard exactly yet.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
All right, Pablo. Well, hit that music and let's get the heck out of here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And as that is going up, I want to tell everybody that if you're listening still, thank you. That's a big thing for us. But make sure you click out those buttons above my head.
Oh yeah.
All those subscribe and all that, and hit that button and the bell and that subscriber, because we want this to become the best fantasy football podcast out there, and we need you to do it. So
absolutely, and we want everyone to know where they can get informed on all the stuff that's going to help them succeed. So you can find us on our social media, you can check us out on our podcast. There's always stuff to know, just to get connected and to try to get ahead.
And above my head, you'll see extremeFFL.com. That's where the site is. You go. As always, I want to thank our sponsors, 123go.io and Tabby Entertainment. And I want to thank you, Pablo, for being here. As always, you do a great job running the board.
Happy to help.
There you go.
Oh, a little clap on the back there. Yeah.
There you go. And as I always say, when life gives you a chance, make it happen. Peace. See you next week, Paul.
Nice.